Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Just checking on the audio online. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. This is a committee of the whole, so we do not make decisions at this meeting. We make recommendations to council. And I would like to just point out that Mayor Murdoch is sitting in my chair because we have a rotating mayor system in Oak Bay. So this is my turn to rotate into the chair's role. I will call to order the meeting, but I would like first to do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is in the traditional territory of the Coast and Strait Salish peoples. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen peoples, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and that their historic connections to these lands continue to this day. So thank you. I would like to then move to approval of the agenda, which is item 2 on the agenda, if you have one in front of you. And so, are there any errors, omissions, or additions? Councillor Appleton? No, I'm just moving. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I have a mover and a seconder. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? None. So that passes unanimously. Thank you. The third item, 3.1, is adoption of committee of the whole minutes from May the 20th. Are there any errors or omissions? Thank you. Thank you. So moved by Mayor Murdoch, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Are there any further comments or questions? I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. So tonight, we have a delegation from the BC Structural Movers Association, and I see an old friend in the audience, and that's Jim Connolly. I first met Jim when I worked in North Saanich on council, and so it's really, I haven't seen you for so many years, it's great to see you. So I would like to welcome Mr. Connolly and Cassidy Vander Ross, and they're from the BC Structural Movers Association, and they will tell you what that is. So welcome and thank you. And if you would take a seat at the front and just state your name and municipality of residence, just for the record, thank you.
There we go. I'm Cassidy Vander Ross. My current municipality of residence is Maple Ridge, but I'm moving to Nanaimo in August.
I'm Jim Connolly, as was just pointed out, and I live in Saanich. I used to live in Oak Bay.
Thank you very much. And you have 5 minutes to do a presentation, which we appreciate. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. I'm Cassidy Vander Ross. I am the representative for the BCSMA. I'm also one of the Canadian representatives for the International Association of Structural Movers. I hold a seat on the National Resource Council's Housing Supply Committee, as well as on their home relocation task group. And I'm on a few different boards, but those probably aren't as relevant tonight, so we'll skip them. We are here today to talk about encouraging more home relocations and deconstruction over demolition in Oak Bay. Obviously, you guys know you have beautiful, beautiful homes here, and with a lot of the density requirements and density bonuses that the province is now pushing, we're seeing a lot more demolitions in pretty much all areas. So for instance, this is a home that was relocatable in Oak Bay that has been demolished. This is another one, really beautiful home that was demolished and I think fairly new as well.
No, that's at Heritage House.
Is that? Sorry. And this is another one that was recently demolished. And another one that was recently demolished. All of these homes were relocatable. So just those 4 homes being demolished resulted in 720,000 kilograms of embodied carbon being released into our atmosphere, 900,000 kilograms of demolition waste going into our local landfills, and 1,458 trees cut down for lumber and sent to our local landfills. So the reason that embodied carbon is so important, even though it often gets overlooked in building requirements, is that your embodied carbon represents all of the materials it takes to build. It represents all of the emissions from importing those materials, manufacturing those materials, processing those materials. Then you have the life of the home, where some of your operational emissions come from, but you continue to build up embodied emissions through maintenance, through upgrading, through repairs, and then all of those embodied emissions get released at the time of the demolition of the building. Most homes take around 168 years to pay back the embodied carbon that is used in their building materials. But right now, we're demolishing homes at an average of 70 years old in BC. So extending the lifespan of these buildings is a really important part of getting our climate footprint down. So this is a graph of the current provincial goal and where we're at. So our goal by 2030, you can see it there, is way down here, and our emissions are still going up. And part of this is because we are demolishing so many buildings and we're putting so much effort into the operational carbon, but that's just a drop in the bucket compared to the embodied emissions of demolishing all of these buildings. So the good news is we are seeing provincial or government support. So the Ministry of Housing released a technical bulletin last year. That's Technical Bulletin B24-07, clarifying the building code applications for relocated homes and also specifying that they are a good option for zero waste planning. The National Resource Council has developed a relocated homes task group that is focused on creating a new section of the building code that will apply only to relocated homes, again, to promote building inspectors knowing how to service those buildings, knowing how to handle permitting of those buildings to make it easier and more streamlined for those relocations to happen. The Capital Regional District, close by, just sponsored a home demolition waste prevention forum, of which the main focus was home relocation. And Metro Vancouver is currently listing home relocation as a critical metric in measuring the success of their new zero waste plan. So what we are asking today is for consideration of new measures that Oak Bay could implement to encourage home relocation over demolition. Those include implementing a building reuse assessment with all demolition applications, which essentially means that at the time that people are applying for a demolition permit, they also have to get a relocation company and a deconstruction company to sign a little thing saying, yes, this building is relocatable or deconstructible, or no, it's not. And that allows both relocation companies and deconstruction companies to have earlier notification that these buildings are available. It also ensures that developers considering demolishing their buildings are aware that there's other options right away. The other thing we're asking for is a refundable demolition deposit. City of Victoria has implemented this, and they have seen a pretty large uptick in relocations and deconstructions over demolitions since doing that. Their demolition deposit is currently $19,500, and we're finding that that amount seems to be large enough that people want to consider other options if it means that they can get that or a portion of that back. And then the other thing is an early green removal permit, which allows relocation and deconstruction to start prior to demolition permit removal, provided that all the demolition permit requirements are fulfilled. And this is because to demolish a building, you can demolish a building within 24 hours. Deconstruction and relocation both take more time than that. So it puts all three of those services on a level playing field, rather than, developers choosing demolition purely because it's faster. It allows them to start building faster. It gives them the option to kind of choose all three based on their values rather than the time.
Ms. Van Ross, if you can just wind up, and then I'll ask for questions from council. Thank you.
Yep. And then the fourth thing is a municipal building removal procurement standards policy, which is something that the Canadian Treasury has in place, which basically says that bids for the removal of municipal buildings goes out to relocation and deconstruction companies first, and then to demolition companies if it's shown that that building is not relocatable or not deconstructible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an important topic for our community. I'm going to ask for questions, and I have Councillor Braithwaite, Councillor Appleton, Councillor Patterson, and Councillor Watson.
Thank you so much, Chair. And through you, I have so many questions, but I'm going to limit it to myself to like maybe 3 so that everybody else can ask. This is wonderful. It's very timely, I think, for our community right now. You talked a little bit about incentives from other municipalities using City of Victoria. Are there other municipalities other than the City of Victoria who do incentives right now?
So City of Victoria, I would say, is kind of the role model right now. There are a number of other jurisdictions that are now looking to implement what City of Victoria has done. I know District of Saanich is also looking at piloting a temporary accelerated relocation permit, which would allow people, we're looking at Oak Bay to kind of move homes out. You guys are more of a supply area. Saanich can be a destination area as well, so that allows people to move homes in faster. Essentially allowing them to build faster. Metro Vancouver and City of Vancouver also has similar regulations on the mainland. Yeah.
Yeah,
And sorry, the CRD too, I think, is looking at some of that as well.
Yeah, Sydney as well has a deferential permit system, so it costs more to demo than it does to remove a building. It used to be a higher threshold, and they reduced it, and we found that the calls really dropped down when it was a negligible amount of money. You know, I never like to add money to developers, but you know, they're going to spend it one way or the other, and it seems to me that financial incentives do cause people to consider this as an option.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, again, that was another one of my questions was the cost savings. So cost savings of relocation as opposed to demolition, especially a lot of our houses, as you would know, are of the era that they might have asbestos in them. So is a house that has asbestos in it, is it able to be moved or not?
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that these there's asbestos, we're talking a lot of the times about 1%. If it's not disturbed, so if it's in the drywall, mud, and tape, you're going to get probably 50% of the buildings that have some containment, can be under linoleums. So if it's not disturbed, then generally it's not a problem. If it's in a work area, so if it's in the basement, if it's in the chimney mortars or anything that we disturb, then it has to be properly abated. But we've navigated through that pretty effectively. Again, a huge percentage of houses in the province do have some hazardous materials in them, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, when it comes to cost savings, so demolitions, like we do have less abatement costs, but we also charge for the removal on like a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Percentage basis, or?
Maybe we charge between $5,000 and $10,000 for a removal. And that's pretty standard within the industry. So demolitions will generally range, especially for homes of the size we're talking about in Oak Bay, will be like $30,000 plus.
Yeah.
Thank you, and sorry.
Sorry, just to make a very quick point too, one of the things that we're really starting to lean towards is the ability of, there's so much housing resource inventory within these cities already. And the one thing, and we've been in discussions with City of Victoria and other districts on this measure, and that is that there is the opportunity to relocate a lot of these buildings within the confines of the existing lot. And it's architecture that we're missing out on because we quite often they leap over to new construction, whereas that building could be very easily relocated, especially if there were variances or other incentives that would allow people to reconsider. And of course, you know, we always love to come to Oak Bay because this is where a lot of the cream is. You know, a lot of these houses are really quite profound in the way they were built, you know.
Thank you, and I'll limit this to my last question so others can ask. So then timing. So I've heard from a few people who had wanted to perhaps relocate their house rather than demolish it, that the timing and being able to get the permits, et cetera, or for your company to get the permits, et cetera, to be able to move a house have not been timely enough. And so can you maybe speak to that and speak to perhaps what could be changed to be able to help that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we sat on a committee in Vancouver about 20 years ago, and one of the things that we said to them at that point, early notification is critical, because what often happens is we get the notification at the end of a process that people have spent a year undergoing, right? And so when they reach out to a moving company, there's a lot of water that's run under the bridge at that point. So one of the things that we find is really necessary, almost more than the cost of it, is the notification. It's really free. And so, yeah, early notification is critical. Yeah.
And sorry, just to add to that as well, because we're working with other jurisdictions to implement, different receiving permits, the idea is if we can get, these things in the jurisdictions that we're taking homes out of, and then these things in the areas where we're bringing homes into, everything will line up more across the board.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Appleton, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, thank you for the presentation. This is going to be a tough one to answer briefly, but maybe do your best. How are the economics changing around this? Because there's often sort of questions around the economics of keep versus demolish versus build new, but now building costs are astronomical, and so I think there's probably that balance sheet works out better now than maybe it did 5-10 years ago. So maybe you just broadly comment on the economic situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the costs have gone up everywhere, as we're all aware. But also have the costs of demolition have gone through the roof as well. And it's much more onerous to demolish a building. I mean, it's not necessarily faster a lot of the time either if they have to do extensive hazardous materials abatements and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely, possible to do it in a relatively timely fashion, right?
Thank you, and I'll go now to Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to our guests. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's both a sad and I guess an opportunistic topic because we always feel sad when we see the homes coming down, certainly in Oak Bay. Just could you share with us what the process is or how your involvement or involvement of others to kind of find homes for the homes, like how do the requests come in? How are they vetted? And is there a reasonable distance, I guess, that makes it worthwhile doing?
Yeah, and that's getting back to Councillor Appleton's question about costing. A lot of the buildings are going further away, but there's burgeoning markets for this kind of stuff because, again, costs of building on some of these islands, like the last year and a half, we put 22 on Gabriel Island alone. And all these Gulf Islands, Salt Spring, they're really expensive to build. So those markets are constantly growing as the buildings are being seen and going further and further afield, which adds, of course, to the cost of it. Because we've gone up as far as Port Hardy, Port McNeil. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on the barging as such, which is why, again, we try to tie them together. But yeah, there's definitely very healthy markets for it, and most of those people already own the land. And they have no capacity to build anymore. We're getting a lot of people that are retired that are coming to communities where they can't buy it or build it. And, for one reason or another, they hear about the possibility of relocations, and it's really, gives them in many ways the only way in. I've been at this long enough now. We're doing houses for the children of the parents we did houses for. And they're moving them to the lots that the parents own, too, with the other house on the lot. So it's really kind of a deja vu moment. Yeah.
And just to add to the point about how this is, a lot of people's only option over building. So to build new in some of these areas is like $800 a square foot. To relocate a home is on average about $120 a square foot. So even though the cost, and that cost has increased over the last 5 years, like that is reflective of the increased costs of barging, the increased costs of various factors within the economy, and it's still a much, much more affordable option than building new.
Thank you. I have Councillor Watson now.
Thank you, Chair Green. Thanks for coming. It's a great topic for us to be hearing about. I wanted to ask about where else, in terms of policy pressures, where are the other places where policy pressure can be applied to encourage this? I was thinking about landfill, cost to access the landfill, and I just wondered what other work you were doing to promote this as an environmental approach to reducing GHG emissions.
Which landfill is Oak Bay serviced by? CRD Heartland?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Heartland, yeah, they've made a lot of changes recently regarding building materials, and they are partnered with Lighthouse Sustainability Society on a lot of that. We have worked very closely with Lighthouse on a lot of their new reports and a lot of their new case studies. But additionally, so I've personally either presented to or worked with for permitting development or zero waste planning. I've worked with almost every single municipality on Vancouver Island and in Metro Vancouver. Oak Bay is new to me though, so thank you. But so we're working very closely with a number of municipalities. We also work very closely with the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Transportation. And then we are working federally on the building codes as well. And the reason that we're doing that is kind of a top-down approach. If the building codes are written a certain way at the federal level, they have to be followed that way at the provincial and municipal levels. So it just creates consistency kind of all the way through the process and across all jurisdictions. Whereas right now, I'm sure your building department would be able to tell you different jurisdictions handle relocations differently, which makes it very difficult, especially when you're moving homes in and out of different jurisdictions. But yeah, we're involved in a number of different committees. I'm on the board for Zero Waste BC and Recycling Council of BC. I'm also on the Public Technical Advisory Committee for Metro Vancouver. We're working very closely with City of Victoria on their deconstruction bylaw and their zero waste plan. We worked very closely with District of Saanich on their zero waste plan. Yeah, we've got a few more delegations across the island coming up. Yeah, does that answer?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It's really good to hear about. And then I'm curious to know, what's the largest structure that you could manage? Is this single form house type things, or what would be the limits at the moment?
You know, as long as you have the larger ones are obviously water access, but the size is almost irrelevant. It's just more steel, more wheels, more weight. But, you know, we've done several that are in the 10,000, 12,000 square foot range. And they are becoming, in a way, more common as well. You know, as the money comes, the houses get sort of more exotic and so on. Yeah, but size is more a function, like it's not so much that you can't move a larger building, it's the physical restraints that would affect that. Yeah.
Again, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add too. So for like this jurisdiction, I think the BCSMA has 3 member companies in this jurisdiction, and I think there's 4 companies total. So some of that would also depend on the capacity of the company. So we have probably 2 companies in this area that are capable of doing those really large moves. And then we have a couple others that kind of stick to the smaller homes, like the ranchers, the bungalows. But it's kind of nice. It kind of spaces the work throughout everyone. Yeah.
Well, City of Victoria, just interestingly, has offered potential storage on one of their locations as part of their recycling depot. They've talked about actually providing as many as 5 spaces for houses that will be otherwise demolished. Because the trick that a lot of these companies are finding nowadays is lining up all of the everything in the crosshair. So you need, the builder schedule, you need the availability of the tides or the barging, you need the availability of the other lot to be ready. And so what a lot of these companies are struggling with is the coordination of events to try and line everything up. We are, fortunately there's storage and but when you pull a building in and out of storage, it's quite a cost. I mean, it adds probably 10 to 15,000 every time you do that. So a lot of times what we're trying to do is direct delivery, and that's why the early notification is so critical, to be able to try to put that particular operation together. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I'm going back to Councillor Braithwaite.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought of another question. So if someone was interested in having a house moved onto their property, so say, for example, I wanted to replace my 830 square foot house with a 1,200 square foot house, is there a list somewhere that I could find out what's available or what's coming up?
Absolutely. Like most of these companies have websites, and you can go on their websites and have a look at the various buildings. There's always buildings, and between the City of Victoria and certainly all of these jurisdictions, Saanich, Oak Bay, there are more houses coming available. So again, the emphasis kind of focusing on the really good stuff. And because anything can be moved, but a question of whether the economics, which is a question that was raised earlier, whether they work with it. I mean, they don't change that much in the moving, but there is still work to be done on the other side. But it's such a common sense alternative, and I just think a lot of this if we tweak the levers a little bit, then the incentives can be there, and it's still a win-win. I mean, everybody saves money when they do it, and I'm with you in the sense that what I love about moving in Oak Bay is that we always have. Especially, and credit to Oak Bay and the way that they have worked with us a lot of times on the earlier moves on the evenings, because this can save thousands in wire costs. But the part that's so enjoyable about that is that you get, a crowds following them to the water, and it's like they're watching whales be put into the ocean, And it's such a festival event. And there's very few places, a lot of other places are now allowing these earlier, as long as obviously there's no, harm on the community one way or the other. But yeah, so these are positive things, yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I just wanted to thank you, first of all, very much for this presentation. It's timely, particularly now with the pressure for density in our community. And Oak Bay is one of the older communities on the island with, as you know, a number of heritage homes and older homes that are still valuable to families and to individuals. And it's timely also because our Director of Building and Planning is with us tonight, Mr. Andre Boll, and one of his staff members, I believe a new staff member, am I right? No, oh, sorry, where have I been? But our Heritage Commission is also very interested, and I started, when I first moved to Oak Bay in 2010, I started hearing about the concerns around housing demolition. So it is an ongoing issue. But thank you for all that you do. And I think the association, the idea of association at the provincial level is a really good idea, because I think we need a coordinated approach to get the buy-in from communities. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you both for being here tonight. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. And just for staff's reference, I just remembered we're also working with the City of Nanaimo. That's a newer thing, but I know you guys like to have places you can collaborate with.
Okay, excuse me. We're going now to move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is Mayor and Council verbal reports. And I think what I'll do is start with Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Chair Green.
I know it's hard, isn't it?
It is to recall that. Just a couple of things that I would like to touch on. I did attend the Crest building tour for the new facility, which is now viewable. Kind of, it's in a form that you can actually really get a sense of the new building and how it's going to perform, and we're very, very pleased with the progress. Also really pleased that Dear West reports that the Crest site has been one that has had outstanding safety supervision during the project, and the lady who is in charge of that for us has been doing a superior job. But it's nice to see it coming together, and we're still on schedule, and we expect to move in August. The other event that I did attend just over the past week was the Victoria Family Court and Youth Justice Committee's reception that they host in June, and that is attended by some of the resource agencies that give services throughout the region. And as well, we have certainly municipal representatives there and some government representatives. And it's a really nice way to have a more casual, informal chat with everybody. We also learned at that meeting that one of the past members of MIST, who has gone back, he was reallocated to his constable duties and now has been appointed by the city of Victoria to be their representative to the Police Liaison Officer Program in School Division 61. And Gordon McGee has a long history now of working with Mia Golden on the MIST team for several years. So I think that we're really optimistic that he will be able to work towards developing a new platform and a better relationship with the school divisions. And that is all that I will. There's been lots of events because we've been to the Tea Party, we've been to all of these things, but I'm not going to go into all of those, so thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson, and I'll move on to Councillor Smart.
Thank you. In late May, I was honored but sad to attend the celebration of life for Sue Donaldson, one of our greatest art advocates who passed away suddenly. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize an extremely passionate individual who contributed to our arts community, both as a volunteer and in their work life. Also had the pleasure of attending the OCP engagement sessions and chatting with the community. Earlier in June, I attended the Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference in Ottawa, and it was amazing to hear from our political leaders and engage with councillors in other municipalities. Also attended one of the Capital Bike celebration stations. Couldn't believe how well attended they were this year. Hundreds of people coming out. Oak Bay Tea Party, always a fantastic event. Was at the UVic, one of the UVic graduation ceremonies where Janet Austin received an honorary degree. So I was privileged to attend that. Also attended the local TEDx Victoria event this past week and engaged with a lot of our business community and entrepreneurs. Last week was just recently the Oak Bay Night Market, one of my favorite events, and our council just had a wonderful session on engaging with our community as a workshop. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, I actually also attended a celebration of life for a longtime volunteer for the Castaway Wanderers Rugby Club, Brent Johnson, who was a huge asset to that organization, and there was over 300 people in attendance at his celebration of life, so that was quite lovely. PRC meetings, we welcomed our new director, Thomas Solier, and we talked about the new fee structure that's going to be in place in the Arts Alive program. Opening ceremonies for that will take place on July 17th at 6:30 at McNeil Bay. The summer concert program is kicking off as well on July 5th at 2 p.m. And then it will be on Thursday nights throughout the summer. And that's at Willows Beach, and also Yoga in the Park starts up every Tuesday night in July and August at Willows Beach as well. And just a reminder that the pool is closed from now until June 22nd and will reopen on June 23rd. I attended Oak Bay track meetings. We're getting some of the finalized plans together for the pricing, etc. as far as that goes, working with SD61. And also attended the OCP engagement sessions, some GVLRA meetings, and a lot more meetings with residents in the last little while than usual. I also spent the weekend volunteering at the Oak Bay Tea Party, which was really well attended by residents. And on behalf of the board, of which I'm a member, I was asked to give thanks to all of council for participating. Thank you very much for being there, everyone. It was really nice to see you there and for participating in the parade. We also enjoyed, as Councillor Smart said, the Oak Bay Night Market, and the Spring Nosh was actually on Saturday as well, which was really great, and that's all put on by the Oak Bay BIA, which we're very thankful for the events that they put on the avenue and bring all of the attention to Oak Bay. And training sessions with fellow councillors. And then last but not least, the Royal McPherson Theatre Society AGM happened a couple of weeks ago. And I do have the annual report and the annual general meeting for anyone who would like to look at it. And I was actually given the honor of being elected as president once again, and so I want to give thanks to the committee for having the confidence in me to keep me in that position for another year. So thank you.
Councillor Appleton.
Well, thank you, Chair. I'll be brief, just in terms of my official capacities. Attended the Heritage Foundation meeting last week and encourage everybody to engage with the foundation at the night market. They have found themselves a spot and are now found their way into the market. So they're usually a popular stop for members of the community. So encourage everybody to stop by there and ask questions and take a look at their materials. The lecture series, of course, will return in the fall, but there are some, I was listening to foundation members discuss what is coming this fall, and it will be some, there'll be some really great stuff coming. So stay tuned. The fall's presentations look to be good. I too was in the parade with everybody. Thanks very much for coming. It's always a hoot, and the weather was great, and really enjoyed that. Also attended some of the OCP sessions as well, and heard lots of great dialogue from the community. And then sort of in my formal capacity as trustee for the Greater Victoria Library Board, attended their May meeting, a number of different things on the agenda, concluding the financial reporting as the district itself is doing. Probably one of the biggest things that is underway at the library is the development and the rollout of a completely new from the ground up GVPL website, which is extremely well used and has to be done in a pretty comprehensive fashion. So it's going to present a real advantage and a real resource for the community. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Chair Green. Yeah, it's been a busy month, lots of stuff going on in the community, and I've participated with councillors at the OCP open houses. I got to go to 3 of the 4 of them, and it was fun. The rainy day one was the best attended because people's other activities got cancelled and everybody, so there was really wonderful interaction at those sessions and really well managed by our staff and consultants. I also, it will be coming our way, but I went to the Camosans open house about their new student residence because I wanted an opportunity to see the development on large display boards and kind of see how they were presenting that to the community. So that was some time well spent on a sunny evening. Official duties on at the SIP Municipal Partners meeting last week. Their AGM is tomorrow, and Councillor Appleton will be attending on behalf of the municipality and as a voting member. ADP was held last week, and finally, so much fun. While some of you were noshing, I was out with the Green team at Anderson Hill on Saturday. And I just have to say what a wonderful gathering of the broader community to assist in a collective effort around one of our parks. There were people there from Victoria, Esquimalt, Saanich, like really broadly from across the region. And so it's wonderful that we were able to support the Green team, and it's wonderful to really see our parks as regional resources and that people are concerned and want to participate that across the wider area. So we are not an island in Oak Bay. So I really appreciated that time. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. I'll jump in, and then the mayor wants to go last, I think. Those were my instructions earlier today. I was pleased to attend the Tourism Committee meeting last week, and it has reverted to monthly meetings starting in July. It tried a schedule of quarterly meetings, and it wasn't as successful as they hoped, so we're reverting to monthly meetings. I think it's a good change. Back to monthly. I attended 2 wonderful workshops organized by staff, thank you, on communications and citizen engagement with all of my colleagues. Attended a Regional Water Supply Commission meeting, attended the Tea Party Parade, attended the last OCP session, the one on the rainy day when there was a great turnout. You're right, a lot of people didn't cancel plans and came to the session. I too have been experiencing calls to meet with residents over a variety of concerns, primarily around housing. And then I attended the GVLRA recently. So I will now move to Mayor Murdoch. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just thought I would play sweeper and catch anything that other people hadn't caught, but you guys got everything I could think of on that. So a few things I just thought would be worth of interest to the council and perhaps the public. One, I did attend again the annual Distinguished Entrepreneur of the Year Award that's put on by the Gustafson School of Business at UVic, won this year by Andrew Wilkinson and Chris Sparling of Tiny. I just want to acknowledge the university's efforts to just celebrate some of these businesses that really do make a difference in the community and in the province. As you're probably aware through news reports, at the last CRD board meeting, the transportation service was enabled. It'll be small to start, but it gives a framework that allows for, as opportunities arrive for some regional services and planning, those will be supportable now at a regional level. I was also attending the 45th anniversary of the Victoria Marathon, their media kickoff. October 12th is the 45th year. It's going to be the largest ever. They are almost getting close to sold out, over 15,000 people. But I think of interest to this community, you may or may not be aware, but they've shifted the 5K and the kids run into Oak Bay over the last couple of years, and so they're now held down at Willows, which has been a great addition to the community because they're super happy, fun events, not quite as many people, and really well appreciated. I've also just been sitting in on some provincial consultations on regulations related to in-camera meetings. I'm going to be attending upcoming research seminar on public health and palliative care for the region, and as well as the annual BC Transit Conference and Workshop, and of course my usual potential emergency management update that happens regularly for mayors and regional district chairs. And my great pleasure to be attending the Oak Bay High graduation this Thursday, where I get to give a little speech, as I always do. My son is graduating, so that's the first time I get to attend it and have family on the stage. So that's going to be lots of fun. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Murdoch. Thank you, everybody. That was really interesting, and everyone is certainly busy, that's for sure. We are now going to move to item number 6, the public comment and question period. Just a reminder to the public, please talk about anything you would like other than the agenda item. So agenda items are not open during this period, but you will be able to speak to the agenda item if you want to when it comes forward shortly. So, do we have anyone from the audience that would like to speak to us tonight? Yes, please come forward. And if you can just state your name and municipality of residence, please, thank you. And there's a little button on the, oh, you know the routine. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, my name's Jim Harker, and I reside in Oak Bay. And I'd like to say to start with, I find this disconcerting because for many years, I was where you were. In Kamloops, and so now I'm on the other side of this. Anyway, I'd like to speak about short-term rentals, and I know it's a topic that's.
Mr. Harker, if you could wait until the next item on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was open.
No, yeah, this is an open period, but not for that item because it's coming up as number 7.
Okay,
and then
I didn't know that.
That's okay. And then that if you come forward when the item is called, which is the next one, feel free to weigh in. Sorry about that. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to council on anything but item 7, which is short-term rental? Oh, there's a hand on Zoom. Yes, the person with their hand up on Zoom, please start speaking. Thank you.
If you're on the phone, they have to hit star 9.
Oh, star 69? Oh. The person online, please go ahead. You have your hand raised. We're happy to hear from you. Thank you. I actually can't.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. And please state your name. Thanks.
Okay. Sorry about, yes, of course. So my name is Stuart McLeod, and I live on Monterey Avenue, just north of Oak Bay Avenue. And I'm glad to be able to share with you some experiences and some concerns that I have as a resident whose property would be adversely affected by the bicycle infrastructure being debated for the St. Anne Monterey corridor. With my now 2.5 minutes, I'll focus on just 2 aspects of the issue, aspects that are personal to me and informed by my circumstances. First, from my home office overlooking the street, I observe every day an abundance of all types of vehicles, from one-wheel boogie boards all the way up to multi-axle trucks, including, of course, our waste disposal teams and emergency services vehicles. I have observed that no one seems confused about how to operate safely with and amongst the other operators. Bicyclists, in particular, know how to take the lane while being overtaken by cars or trucks, or even by other cyclists with more pedal power or an electric boost. The complete absence of reports of injury accidents on this stretch of road underscores this fact. Second, I joined this community, came to Oak Bay in 2019, fully expecting to, as they say, age in place. This includes the joy I find in maintaining and enhancing the house and land of which I'm the current steward. Should the bike lanes move forward as currently conceived, I am at a loss to understand how I could continue this work, knowing how important curbside is for trades, for delivery vehicles, and plant conservation crews. I've got 3 Gary Oaks in the back that I service at least twice a year. So all these folks would be helping me enjoy my life and enhance my property. This is without even mentioning the massive value of those parking spots that would disappear for visitors to our community, a value that is highlighted by every tea party and every night market and every parade. The place is packed, and by every family stopping by our local businesses for ice cream cones or baked goodies. So I'll just conclude by noting an eye-watering property tax increase, talk of taking on municipal debt, the steady but slow pace of water system rehabilitation, and the crystal clear lack of broad-based support in our community for excessive bike infrastructure. But on a more positive note, I do encourage council, staff, and my fellow residents to attend community engagement events and to bring forward results-oriented, fiscally prudent, broadly supported ideas such as lower speed limits, clear signage, lane markings, that will truly improve mobility for all ages and abilities while not tearing at the quality of life of your neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McLeod. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak to council tonight? Are there any audience members that might have changed their minds and would like to speak to us tonight? And Mr. Harker, you'll be next. So, okay, I don't see anyone else online. I don't have people running forward to the desk, so I will close this period of public comment and question period. Thank you. And now I'm moving on to item number 7, short-term rentals. We have a staff report as well. And so I'm going to encourage anyone that would like to speak to come forward. And I think that's... Oh, sorry. I'm rusty. I apologize, Mr. Bull. Would you please, yes, would you like to weigh in? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll provide a short introduction. And yes, this gentleman next to me is not a new staff member, but probably new to some of the councillors.
It's Mr. Letts, isn't it?
It's Mr. Letts, that's right. He's our senior bylaw
My
compliance
apologies,
official.
but I don't have a lot of use for bylaw enforcement at this point, so thanks.
Thank you. So yeah, so that explains who that is. Yeah, a short introduction, but a lot of information is in the staff report. Yeah, the province has made a lot of changes lately regarding short-term rentals, rooted in a concern about housing supply. And yeah, at present, there's kind of 2 layers of regulation. The province has a principal residence requirement now for short-term rentals, and meanwhile, the district continues to have a ban, but only applicable to stays shorter than 30 days. And the provincial requirements applies to anything shorter than 90 days. So a bit of a different 2 mechanisms at play at the same time. The province has started requiring registration this spring and is in the process of doing that. And Mr. Letts has been in touch with provincial staff to coordinate how they're doing this and if they're aware, and to make them aware of our regulation. And as you can see in the report, a number of local businesses that meet both the provincial and the current Oak Bay requirements are able to register. And there's some in the works. In the report, I reflect on the home-based business review that is coming up as part of the official community plan review later this year. But we also have pinpointed an option and a number of implications for council to consider as requested by you a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, I'll leave it at that as a short introduction, and happy to, between Mr. Letts and myself, we're happy to answer any questions or comments you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bull, and welcome, Mr. Letts. Are there any questions of Mr. Bull pertaining to the comprehensive report that he delivered to us tonight? I have Councillor Patterson and Councillor Smart, Councillor, the Mayor, Councillor Watson, and then Councillor Appleton. So, Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Director Bull. Now, I did I did send in a prior correspondence to Director Bull just to let him have some time to perhaps think or get more information on this. But a couple of questions that I do have about it. The first one being, for buildings where they have both a primary residence and a suite or an ADU, would the short-term, and they want to have short-term rentals, if they're going to have the short-term rental available in both units, would they require separate registrations with the province for each one, or would it be by the single property?
Yeah, through you, Chair. We believe in that scenario, each unit has their own registration, and they might be run by different people as well. But yes, that's how we'd expect it to go.
If I may continue, Madam Chair, I know, of course, the goal of the provincial housing targets is to increase the number of housing units available in the province. If a new dwelling unit is listed as a short-term rental, does it still get added to the number? Will it still qualify to increase the total number of housing units, or is there any guidance from the province about that yet? Would it, if it was being used for short-term rental instead of long-term, does it still count as housing rather than an income-producing property?
Yeah, through you, Chair, it still would count. It's a bit of a different process. For the housing target, we look at building permits and completed building permits. And if a unit is approved, then that will count to the housing target order, regardless of whether it's used as a residence down the road or a short-term rental. Thank you.
And if I may continue, is the municipality responsible for monitoring the frequency and duration of bookings so that to guarantee regulatory compliance? Should the District of Oak Bay move ahead? Do we understand that? I know the province has a role in interacting with the platforms, but I'm just wondering the real administration of it. Does it fall to the municipalities?
Through the chair, the municipality would be responsible for monitoring and enforcing its bylaws. So any regulations that the municipality creates to regulate short-term rentals would fall on the municipality to enforce. The province would enforce their regulations, not ours.
Thank you very much for that information. And if I could ask one more question. Do we have any information available to Council on the revenues that are collected from these and how the revenues are collected, how they're allocated, and how they would be reported on?
Through the Chair, right now we don't have that specific information because all the hotel tax, so to say, is collected as one entity through the province and through accommodation providers, but also through the platforms that provide short-term rental options. But that's probably a way to find that out down the road if we're interested. But at this point, we don't think or we don't know whether that information is readily available. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will give up to the next speaker.
Thank you. I think to save confusion, because I am a little confused, I'll just go around the table if that's all right with everybody. I had a speaking order, but I think I'm not correct, so I don't want to offend anyone. Councillor Smart?
Thank you, Acting Chair. Through Acting Chair to Director Bull, just to follow up on one of Councillor Patterson's question with regards to whether it be the primary house suite or ADU aspect. My understanding is that there is this.
Sorry, we're having technical problems.
I wondered if you could just confirm. My understanding is that the definition of principal residence is a very clearly defined description that the provincial government has come up with, so that when we're considering potentially aligning with the provincial policies, that we're not at all discussing a house that isn't primarily occupied most of the year by a resident. If you could just confirm the scope of our discussion here today, that we're not at all talking about a house that is 100% of the time used as an investment property. Thank you.
Mr. Bull.
Yeah, thank you for the chair. Yes, that's where this report is focusing on those differences, and yes, the province has clearly defined that, and there's an option there. Depending on council's deciding or indicating today for a future meeting to be confirmed, that could be continue to be the focus. It could also be widened, of course, because that's another question or option that we didn't specifically pinpoint, because the one recommendation that we do have for you is very narrow and focused on aligning our rules with the provinces. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through your acting chair, just as I guess a follow-up to that question, does staff have any information regarding some of this anecdotal specific approaches that have been taken in other municipalities? I understand, for instance, in City of Victoria, that they limit the amount of days that allow this to further restrict what the province allows. And I just wondered, do you have any information about other municipalities that you could share today? Thank you.
Mr. Bull.
Through the chair, there are a number of differences between all the municipalities in the CRD. As you mentioned, in Victoria, you are permitted to have short-term rental less than 30 days. Individuals must first have a lawful short-term rental business license. All operators must comply with both the Victoria short-term rental regulation bylaw and Schedule D for home occupations. It has to be in your principal dwelling unit. It can't be within a self-contained dwelling unit. No more than 160 nights in a calendar year. You can rent no more than 2 bedrooms in your principal dwelling unit throughout the year. Saanich currently doesn't permit short-term rentals less than 30 consecutive days. Esquimalt does not allow renting any part of a residential dwelling for a period of less than 1 month. And the township does not issue business licenses for short-term rentals. Central Saanich short-term vacation rentals to the traveling public is only permitted in zones that specifically include travel accommodations, condominium hotel or bed and breakfast as permitted uses. In Sydney, short-term rentals are permitted on most residential properties in accordance with the zoning bylaw. Short-term rentals must meet the following requirements. The property must be continuously occupied as a principal residence, whether it be the owner or a tenant. The short-term rental must be located in a legal dwelling unit. For example, a secondary suite that has received an occupancy permit. No more than 2 bedrooms on a property may be used for a short-term rental. And a bedroom in a short-term rental may not have a separate additional cooking facility. Those are some examples in the CRD.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Councillor Smart, do you have other questions?
Thank you. I'll just have one other question, because I appreciate that there's a lot of questions around the table. So my other question is, there's sort of 2 issues that I see today before us. One is the governance issue of the policy, but the other one is the timeline in which are we going ahead with the current timeline or expediting it. So my question is, if we don't expedite potentially this project today beyond the current plan of addressing it through our OCP process, I just wanted to know, there was a sense of it might happen in the fall, September to December, and I just wondered is there any awareness of how likely it is to come closer to September or closer to December? Thank you.
Mr. Bowl?
Thank you, through the chair. The home-based business review for the OCP in September, October, when we have a second round of community engagement, it will be about a new land use strategy, but also include some of these details for the zoning bylaw, including the home-based business review. But it will take time to do, of course, develop the program, do the engagement about this, and then bring back bylaws. So the deadline for the OCP update and the zoning bylaw update is end of this year, and that would likely be the time that we do need to do this thoroughly and bring back bylaws to you. So the review itself, the detailed review that's currently scheduled, would be completed by the end of the year. That's the goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowl.
Thank you.
Councillor Braithwaite?
Thank you, Chair. And through you, actually, 4 of my questions have been answered, so that only leaves me with 2. So the first one will be, what would this mean to our bylaw needs to be able to enforce? I mean, I know in the report it says how many houses, 106 operators we think that we have right now in the district, and 47 are active. But if all 106 of those operators actually did go forward and receive a license to do this, what would that mean to our bylaw needs? Because obviously we can't just have one bylaw person doing all of those bylaw needs throughout the whole municipality. So have we forecasted on something like that?
Mr. Bowl?
Yeah, through the chair, it depends. There is a short-term, some effort needed to get those parties licenses, so that's a licensing activity. And normally in a year we process 90 new licenses, so adding in a couple of dozen is a bit of work, but at the same time it depends what the rules are as well, right? How much checking or back checking is there taking place. Then down the road, our enforcement is reactive, so complaint based. So Mr. Letts can comment on what kind of concerns we get recently, but it's not that frequent, although there are some there's an increase over time, so maybe I'll ask him to tell a little bit about it, but it would be reactive to whatever might come up and not necessarily require us to closely monitor each business.
Mr. Letts?
Through the chair, as Mr. Bowl mentioned, it is complaint driven, so we don't proactively enforce. In addition, the province will only register short-term rentals that are in compliance with our regulations. So of those 106, it's unlikely that they will all be in compliance with our regulations and be able to get registered. To date, I think 9 have been denied. So I suspect that after June 23rd, all those that aren't in compliance and aren't able to get registered will be removed from the platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was actually one of my questions too, was why were 9 declined, but that would be because they didn't meet our guidelines for what is appropriate to have people reside in a residence. Yes.
That, or they didn't respond. They didn't reply to the province requests for confirmation.
Thank you. And then my last question would be, as far as the MDRT, I can never get it right, which I believe is at 2% right now that we collect for the municipality. Right now, tourism gets all of that money. Our Oak Bay Tourism, it just flows through the municipality right to tourism. If that when this, or if or when this goes ahead, that we have our short-term rentals, could the municipality take the portion of the MDRT for that is realized from STRs for the municipality, and have tourism just have the MDRT from the hotel? And for everybody who's wondering what MDRT is, it's basically the municipal the tax that is for a head and a bed. And so right now the hotel gets all of those taxes flowed through the municipality, and they put it towards the tourism committee. So I'm just wondering if the amount that's realized from STRs could come to the municipality.
Mr. Letts, Mr. Bull?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I'll start, but I'll let Mr. Letts add some detail. But the funding does come to us, but it is earmarked, so the revenues have limited purposes you can use it for. And Mr. Letts was looking into this, so I'll ask him to explain.
There are 5 uses that can be for the MRDT revenues: effective tourism marketing programs and projects, effective local level stakeholder support and inter-community collaboration, coordinated and complementary marketing efforts to broader provincial marketing strategies and tactics, fiscal prudence and accountability, and in 2018 the province added affordable housing as a permissible use for the funds.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Appleton.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to staff. Just picking up on the portion of the staff report that talks about STRs in the district. So we're talking about that there are a number of operators. Where was the actual number here? That there's a number of operators that do actually have listings that are under 30 days in contravention with our bylaws. So from what I'm hearing, we don't actively enforce, but I guess what I'm looking for here is when the provincial requirement comes into place, how will this be communicated to people? Like, basically, I'm assuming that if they're taking out they're being informed that they need to conform with local government bylaws. Is the onus on them to understand what that is? Does the province proactively communicate based on who is applying and from what municipality? Like, how is that information being conveyed to the person applying so that they don't inadvertently create listings that contravene local government bylaws?
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, through the chair, we have confirmed at the province that right now they're aware of our 30-day window. So shorter than 30 days, you're not eligible for your license. However, the province also has said that down the road they enforce their own regulations, not local other ones. So I think down the road, or maybe the question is more about this stage of the registration, if I take it right. Yeah, so the province is communicating about that. The district doesn't play a role there. But they are making sure, and through the platforms, that people need to get their registration in place and/or business license, if applicable, because otherwise their listing will be removed, and that means for most businesses that or operators that they can't promote a unit, so it won't be rented. So, yeah, thank you.
Councillor Appleton.
Thank you, Chair. So just as a follow-up, and thank you for that. So then in the future, and it's tough to conjecture about what's happening in the future, but if that's communicated to an operator and they've had our bylaw requirements explained to them, and then subsequently they're found listing for less than 30 days or found listing for a couple of days at a time, something like that, I guess basically any party, including the municipality, has the ability to report that to the province and through the reporting structure. So I don't think we've necessarily prepared this plan at this stage of the game because we're talking about the early stages of implementation on our part. But would it be routine practice for municipal bylaw to regularly check those types of listings to, and then proactively report. It wouldn't take any action, I guess, on the district side other than spending the time to check some of those operators for short-term listings.
Mr. Bull?
Thank you, through the chair. That's something that could be further determined. As it stands now, we would be reactive and respond to a complaint, and then we can do that follow-up. And the province is basically set up a system for that. That's why they have the tools and the power to require the platforms to take listings down that are not compliant with the requirements. Proactively following listings is not something that we've done to date. But it's something maybe to consider, but it does require some capacity then to do that consistently rather than responding to where an actual issue might occur. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just really quickly to confirm, and you already gave this information, so I apologize for being pedantic, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is that in terms of regional consistency, the City of Victoria is allowing less than 30-day listings or short-term listings less than 30 days, but it sounds like most of the surrounding municipalities, Saanich, Esquimalt, and potentially others, still prohibit rentals of less than 30 days, just as the district does. So I'm just...
Through the chair, that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watson?
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a question. It's sort of a little tangential, but I'd like to know if a homeowner who's renting a secondary suite requires a business license in Oak Bay.
Mr. Bull?
Thank you. At the moment, that's not the case, I believe. And Mr. Letts confirms that's correct.
Thank you. That was the only remaining question I had after all my council colleagues asked the other ones. Thank you.
Mayor Murdoch?
Yeah, and thank you through you, Chair. It's nice to see Mr. Letts in the chamber. I think this might be the first time I've had you in here, so better than being chased down for littering like I usually am, so that's good. So just, I guess the only question I really have here after those other questions, so, if we have a current situation of sort of non-enforcement or mild enforcement, we have a point in time here where the province has enacted this system where they're restricting the use, and we have this potential leg of contemplation of changes coming up. So I'm trying to get my head around. Obviously, we can direct non-enforcement for. I think maybe that's one question is. Can we sort of essentially say we're not going to enforce over the coming months as we go through our changes if we continue to change? That's one question. And the second is, has the province indicated, given the leg it might take for council to consider, changes to our bylaws because they're not straightforward? Has the province given any indication about our ability to essentially notify them of our intent to consider this, but ask them not to or to allow for registrations in the intervening time? Through you, Chair.
Mr. Bull?
Thank you, Chair. I'll address the first one. That's a tricky one as municipal council to give us direction, not to enforce. But we do have a policy already in place that has 4 criteria, and that's how we look at bylaw complaints. So there is some screening taking place there. So. Although I think in the case of short-term rental complaints, 1 complaint is probably enough, doesn't require 2. Oh, it does require 2 complaints, for example. So we would only act in cases where there is a nuisance of sorts. For the second question, I'm going to ask Mr. Letts to answer whether his understanding of how the province would deal with planned changes to policies. Do you know?
I do not.
Mr. Letts?
Unfortunately, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss that with them, but I can put it on my to-do list and report back what they advise us.
Okay, I'll leave it there then. I think that's my other questions are all been asked and answered, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there are no more questions, oh, sorry, Councillor Smart.
Thank you for indulging me. I just had one further question through you, Acting Chair. Just wondering, you mentioned that there weren't very many complaints, but there have been some. I just wondered, are they around a specific theme of parking noise, that somebody's breaking the rules, or are they all varied? I just wondered if there was, when we do have complaints, if there was a common theme. Thank you.
Mr. Letts?
It is, through the chair, generally nuisances that are created. So, yeah, parking, noise, waste management, just added foot traffic to the neighborhood. Those are the things that draw attention and draw complaints.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council before I go to the public? Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And if I may just follow up on the last statement about the complaints. If they are nuisance complaints, are they generally handled through bylaw enforcement, or is it something that it is predominantly after hours and requires, say, the police department to attend to?
Mr. Bull, Mr. Letts?
Through the chair, it would be something that bylaw enforcement would address. If it was a after hours noise complaint that was significant, I would recommend that the complainant contact the non-emergency to report it so the police could address it in the moment, but bylaw would follow up with the property owner.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before I go to the public? Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Harker because he tried and failed the first time. So please come back. I mean, you didn't fail, I failed.
Didn't have an agenda, so no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. First of all, there are some bylaws around, such as Sydney, that could be adopted by you or looked at by you if you so wished. As of June the 23rd, Airbnb has canceled every booking in Oak Bay, just so you know that. I run an Airbnb with my wife, and after the 23rd, you can't book anybody, okay, and nobody's coming to you. Okay, just so you know that, because there was some confusion up here. But no, the Airbnbs do provide a service. There's, you say there's 106. I thought there was closer to 160, but I guess some people have dropped off. Those people that come cannot afford hotels. I mean, if you look at the Oak Bay Beach Hotel, who can pay $600 a night or more in the summertime? So the people that are booking Airbnbs do it as a cost-saving measure if they have hospital appointments or visiting family or kids or grandkids, etc. And you know, for the last 10 years, that's what we've gotten is people such as that are, and we also get a lot of travelers from around the world that are just on a budget and they want to be able to stay in a nice community. They spend their money in our community in Oak Bay while they're here. That's also something to consider. They eat in the restaurants, they go into the shops, and there again, the people that we've had here from virtually all over the world have really enjoyed being in Oak Bay and at a reasonable price. I don't know what other I can say because you cannot get a license because part of the licensing is you have to have Victoria, or the province, I'm sorry, once they, because Oak Bay does not allow them, that's the end of it. You can't even apply for a license from the province. So until Oak Bay changes it, you know, and Sydney and all the rest, then it will virtually be a non-starter. So,
Thank you very much.
So, do you have any questions about Airbnb or? Airbnb is a very good organization. First of all, they insure my property against anybody doing any damage, either to my house or, you know, to my surrounding area. So, and they're very good about that. And there's more hoops than that. I mean, my insurance company has to know. There's a lot of regulations, but without the license from Oak Bay, then that would be the end of it.
Thank you, Mr. Harker. We appreciate your comments. Thanks for being here tonight. Are there any other members of the public? Yes, please come forward. You'll just state your name and residence, municipality of residence. Thank you.
Sorry. My name's Rita, and I am a 25-year resident of Oak Bay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I want to thank you for encouraging long-term rentals in our community. I have 2 kids in their 20s. My 25-year-old still lives with us, and I am really eager to get him out. So I'm invested in this topic. I'm one of the 45 people mentioned in the report who took advantage of Oak Bay last year and was able to rent my principal home. I would not say that I am an Airbnb operator. I have a principal home which I put on Airbnb from time to time. And so I just want to talk a little bit about why I do that, what it's like, and address some of the concerns that have been raised tonight. We have had our home on Airbnb off and on for 10 to 12 years, sometimes for no days, sometimes for 3 days, and last year for a maximum of 23 days in total. And we do that for 2 reasons. One, to frankly help us make ends meet. And this year we're all experiencing the inflationary increases. This year, making ends meet for our family means putting our kids through school and putting a new roof on our house. But the second reason that we do it is because it's safer. We live in a neighborhood that has had multiple break-ins, as many of us do, and having somebody in our house makes us feel like it's less likely to have to experience any kind of break-in. But I know that there are concerns that have been raised here tonight and that we've heard in the news. So I'll just take a minute to talk about those.
That would be great if it's just a minute. Thank you very much.
So the concerns, one, we've heard about parking. Most people who have principal residence offer up their driveway, and if you're renting, they bring a car, they park in your driveway, not on the road. Second, the issue of safety. We are renting our home, and we screen the people who come to our homes very carefully. I've only ever rented to families with small children, and that's how we have ensured that our family home is protected when we're away. And then finally, I just want to say that address the issue of money and implications. And so of the 45 to 50 to 60 of us who might do this in any given year, we earn between $2,000 and about $13,000 to $15,000 a year. The implications for any individual may not be material. Collectively, that's over $500,000 to your Oak Bay residents this year alone. And we spend that in in part in our community, but so do the people who come in and rent our homes. And we encourage them to go to all the local businesses that surround us and that you're well aware of. So I am one of the people who has been kicked off Airbnb. To comply with Airbnb, I need simply to, quote, submit information that we are allowed to have a short-term rental in the district of Oak Bay. So for us, if you are to take till December to, at the very least, make a decision on what we need to put in place to move forward with a very low-risk activity, we will lose all that income this year. Potentially, we lose it for next year as well. So it has an impact on all of us.
Thank you very much. And Rita, excuse me, would you mind giving us your last name?
Purdy.
Thank you. Purdy? P-U-R-D?
P-A-R-I-K-H.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone, oh yes, come forward, please. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name's Katrina Connors, and I'm a resident of Oak Bay. Just want to start off by saying thank you to Mayor and Council for prioritizing this issue. I know it's a very long list of issues you have, so I know it did not take nothing to get it near the top of the list. So what I would like to see and my family would like to see is homeowners having an option to rent out their principal residence for less than 30 days. And I want to highlight of the provincial regulations, the two components. I know we've talked about them, but I want to highlight a distinction. One, they're allowed in a principal dwelling, and the second is that they're allowed in accessory dwelling unit. I want to say that the first, in a principal residence, does not in any way detract from any kind of housing stock in our community. This is where we live the majority of the time. It's renting it on occasion. It does not detract from long-term rental housing. I can acknowledge that in secondary suites or additional dwelling units, that could be argued and may be the case, but we need to separate the issues. These two things are not mutually exclusive. So today I recommend that you approve option 2, align Oak Bay's regulations with the province by incorporating the principal residence requirement and expand short-term rentals to stays shorter than 30 days. And to me, this option is the simplest and the most straightforward. It's aligned with the provincial definitions and regulations and gets away from having to develop bespoke rules for Oak Bay. If we go down the path of custom regulations, we're just going to create confusion among residents in terms of what is and isn't allowed. Just hearing the dialogue around the table, there's a lot of unknowns. So keeping it clear and straightforward so that Oak Bay staff can lean into provincial enforcement and communication on this issue is key. I also encourage you to be objective tonight and to take an equitable approach. I've heard what I would characterize as unfounded concerns around parking, noise, or waste management. These same things can be leveled against people who come and stay in your house as pet sitters, as house sitters, and we don't have regulations saying that they can't use your house for that reason. Right now, we're looking down the barrel of creating historic levels of density for BC, but specifically for Oak Bay. And we need to acknowledge that the cost of updating all of our infrastructure is being borne by the current homeowners in Oak Bay. We are paying for upgrades to accommodate the density and have seen our property taxes go up by 40% over the past 4 years. And we need to create mechanisms for families like myself and others that have spoken to stay in Oak Bay by allowing occasional short-term rentals in one's primary residence. So one thing, I know I'm going to be short on time, I'm just going to highlight one thing. Right now, the report highlights that rentals longer than 30 days are currently allowed, but they aren't allowed for everyone. So I'm one of the homeowners that put in a legal secondary suite above bar to building code, but I'm not able to rent my house for even longer than 30 days because I do not meet the homeowner occupancy requirement. And so I'm not even having that option afforded to me. So we're in this very awkward position. We have a legal secondary suite. We're considering kicking out our long-term tenants so that we might have the option for renting for periods longer than 30 days. And so no matter what the outcome is today, I really encourage that to be a consideration. So the last thing I'll say is, please don't fall victim to decision paralysis on this issue. Other municipalities have reviewed their bylaws and they've updated as they see fit. Oak Bay needs to act now. Don't push the decision down the road to the end of the year. Provide a lifeline for families by supporting affordability and helping us stay in the community that we love. 2 other comments in response to what I heard. I heard foot traffic is a nuisance. It's not a nuisance, it's tourism, it's people in our community. The other thing I'll mention is that there was a subset of municipalities that were referenced, but it wasn't scanning the net far and wide. Sydney allows them. I didn't hear Langford mentioned. I didn't hear Nanaimo. I didn't hear Vancouver. We really need to modernize our approach to this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate the comments. And thanks to everyone who has commented tonight. So I'm going to bring the issue back to this table. And first of all, I do need a motion to receive the report. That would be helpful, and then we can go to comments and discussion. Is that appropriate?
Move receipt.
Move receipt.
Thank you. So Mayor Murdoch moved. I think Councillor Braithwaite second. Any questions or comments about receiving? I don't think so. Oh, sorry. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to bring it back to this. Yes.
Sorry, I do just have one question of something that was mentioned by one of the speakers, and that was in regards to house sitters and pet sitters, in that we don't have any rules within our municipality around that. And I find that really interesting, and it's a really good point. And I just want to double check with staff that that is in fact correct, that we have no rules as far as if I wanted to leave town for 90 days and I wanted to have someone come and sit at my house to look after my house while I was gone. We have no rules that would prohibit me from doing something like that.
Mr. Bull?
Through the chair, that's correct. That's simply an arrangement. What the type of enforcement action that Mr. Letts was mentioning is specifically geared to posted or advertised accommodations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's no other questions, I would be prepared to make a motion.
So no one has any comments or questions at this point? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite.
I would like to move option number 2 from the staff report, please.
Councillor Smart seconds. Discussion?
I think
I'd like to motivate Councillor
I think
Braithwaite.
we've had enough discussion around this. I mean, I feel pretty strongly that this is something that we should be looking at right now. We should be in compliance with what the province is doing, what the province is putting forward, and it would be it'll be very interesting to see how many people actually come forward. If the numbers that we're reading in this report are correct, that there's 106 right now or 109 right now in our community, it would be interesting to see how many actually come forward. There would be a question that I guess I could ask, I should have asked before, in relation to are people who run short-term rentals, are they obliged to claim that income on their tax return, or is that out of the purview of the municipality?
Mr. Bull, I suspect that's outside our purview, but
That's correct, Chair. Thank you.
thank you. Are there any other comments? I think, I have okay, I did see Mayor Murdoch's hand first, then Councillor Watson, and then Councillor Smart.
Sure, thank you. I guess I'm supportive of this. I guess in principle, I maybe have a question about sort of the issue here has not been that it's not been supported; it's been the staff capacity with all the other things. So I just want to get some clarification. And I guess my other comment leading to a second to that similar question is, I fully support. I think it's a very clear case that we should support Airbnb for, in primary residences. That condition allows for the kind of situations that have been labeled or spoken to here by the public, but also just in general. I think the accessory dwelling unit does require some more thought. I think that's a peace of mind that I have. So I might want to seek some changes to the wording of the motion to kind of just be very clear that move these forward quickly for primary, but not necessarily for accessory dwelling units. I'm not saying I'm against accessory dwelling units, but there are some potential ramifications that I think we need to just think through a little bit. So I guess I'm not sure there's really more comments than questions, but I guess the one real question for staff, and then through you, Chair, would just be, I think we understand the urgency here with the June 23rd timeline and the other aspects of this, but I guess, is this looking at just getting an external contractor or something to come in and just do this work? What does this look like from an actual impact on staff?
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I didn't mention that, but we've had the help of a consultant for this report as well. So yeah, I would follow up to do this faster ahead of the whole program review. It needs to be really, hopefully, really limited in scope, because then we're going to focus on coming up with a definition for the zoning bylaw and a very, if directed by council, a very basic provision in the business license bylaw, and it could be further narrowed to particular types of dwellings, otherwise, and that makes it viable to do it fast. Yeah, thank you. I'll keep it at that.
Okay, thank you. And just one other question I have is that there's a number of newer condos and things that we've put in place covenants, I believe, I think there's section 219 covenants that limit that prohibit short-term rentals within that. So curious if the covenants supersede the bylaws in that situation. Through you, Chair.
Mr. Bull?
Through you, Chair. It depends who is party to those covenants. As a municipality, the times that we do check covenants are usually at time of building permit, for example, and we only enforce, if you will, the ones that we are party to. But if there's something separate between an owner or purchaser of a unit and the originating developer, that's between them. Is more that would be a private matter that doesn't concern the district. Thank you.
Thank you. I was thinking of the ones that we were party to, but that's helpful. Yeah, so I guess my comments in general are, I'm supportive of this approach. I do think we need to limit it to primary residences. And I do, and part of that is, I think, some of the more nuanced, and I'm very heartened by the comments from Mr. Bull that could be done light touch, because I think it's important for us to have that conversation as part of the OCP review as well, to understand where the community is sitting with this. I think there's a strong case to be made for for supporting Airbnb and other short-term rental options. But I do think it's necessary to have a little bit more tease out of that before we get to more comprehensive regulations. Thank you.
I'll go around the table for any other comments, but would you like to make an amendment to the existing
I think
motion?
I'd like to hear from other people first. I
Okay,
think
that's good
appropriate.
then. Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I am entirely convinced that short-term rentals in principal residences should be permitted in Oak Bay, aligning with the provincial requirements. It's clear from what we hear from people and what we observe ourselves, and looking at the economics of hotels, that they clearly provide a service to our community, to our tourism sector, and to the vibrancy of what's going on in the community in the summertime, and that we are well served by them. I was actually really surprised to learn that it wasn't permitted in a principal residence. I didn't know that until recently, and I've had experience doing. No, that wasn't allowed, and it seems just so draconian and old school not to be facilitating a whole wide range of uses of the short term. I do share the mayor's concern that I wouldn't like this yet to go to accessory dwelling units or secondary suites. We've just spent a lot of time as a community promoting that as a new form of housing and getting people engaged to do it, and we are counting on it as being rental housing in our community. And to see that it might be, I'm not sure that it would be, but it could be disrupted by broader regulatory authority to permit those also as part of the short-term rental opportunities. I think that that's, for me, a little bit bridged too far at the moment. We're in the face of our housing targets. We're trying to make sure that there is housing available, and particularly new rental housing. So I would be supportive of a motion that limited this to the principal residence, but I would like to see it go forward expeditiously, and if it's a simple fix that we can do way sooner rather than as part of our slightly more complex review of the home-based business bylaws, I would be very pleased with that.
Thank you. Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you.
Did I miss someone? Oh.
Thank you. No, happy to speak to this as the seconder. I just wanted to speak with regards to the, okay. I just wanted to speak with regards, to this with regards to the context of housing supply being, of course, our number one concern. And I do echo the concerns about if ADUs and secondary suites were allowed to be utilized in this way if they weren't themselves also principal residences. I think it would be an interesting conversation of for us to have further along as we go through being able to refine this through our OCP review as to whether if they themselves are principal residents for someone, could they then be utilized as short-term rentals, and perhaps that's a level of detail we can get to further in our OCP review. But beyond the number one concern of making sure that this doesn't reduce any housing supply in our community, because I know that that is a goal of everyone around this table, affordability is the number one concern that we're hearing from our community, and in every survey and article that comes across the news. And I see this speaking to affordability in a couple of ways. One particularly is we've heard from residents today who have come up and spoken about it simply being a way for them to gain a little bit more income to afford to build their roof on their house this year, to the potential for us to look into the MDRT potentially for a fund for affordable housing. So I think there's a lot of promise to come from this initiative later on, but I think being able to be reactive to the provincial climate right now, and to be able to respond to that and to assist our community in their needs of affordability. I'm very supportive of this. Thank you.
My apologies, Councillor Patterson. I think okay. I'm apologizing all over the place here tonight. Well, I'm sorry, folks. Councillor Patterson.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate the comments around the table. I think it is very interesting that I could in fact have someone come in and sit my pat and use my principal residence. But that I can't have, unless if I don't have a pet, it would be more difficult to get somebody into the house. So I do support it in the principal residence. I, like the rest of the members of council here, have apprehensions about secondary suites or accessory dwelling units being used as we are just embarking on this now. And I think that over time too, as density increases and you might get fourplexes on a lot, it could change the nature of it. But I don't see that it's practical to delay it further, just expecting problems. I expect that we will, there may be some administrative burden on this that we will learn as it proceeds, but sometimes you have to proceed with what you think is best and learn from that. And I'm sure that we will, and we may have to adjust going forward. So I am happy to support it, provided that it is limited to the principal residence.
Thank you. Councillor Braithwaite? Councillor Appleton?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, similar. I feel very similar to my colleagues on this one. I think this is the right way forward. So I feel similarly as well about the limitation to primary residence, and leaving out ADUs at this stage, I think, is the right course. Just because, yes, we are in the process of implementing that, evaluating how that's going to influence our housing stock, evaluating how that's going to help us meet our housing targets. So I would not like to go in that direction at this time. I'm definitely in making that decision. I'm definitely conscious of the fact that one of the limiting factors, or one of the concerns that have been raised about short-term rentals by the community in the past, was in part about enforcement. The provincial scheme and the provincial framework for this addresses some of the issues that have been raised about short-term rentals in the district in the past, in the sense that we do not have the capacity to effectively enforce a complex regulatory scheme. So this gives us a certain amount of backbone to build our own on, and it limits our obligations in that regard. So I think that was a primary concern that is addressed, at least in fairly significant part, by the provincial scheme. I am interested in the component of this. We only have the one hotel or accommodation space in Oak Bay now. Since I've been on council, the Oak Bay Guest House is closed, and so we don't have as many accommodation options in Oak Bay. So I am compelled by the sort of the economic development side of things to provide different types of accommodations within the district, because that provides for, I do believe that it provides for business development and for economic support. And I think it is becoming increasingly the case. I do concur with my colleagues about it becoming increasingly the case that the revenue for homeowners and providing an alternative revenue source for folks to be able to stay in their homes and to be able to support their household in that way, I think, is compelling as well. So I think fundamentally, in the time that I've been on council, I think fundamentally with this provincial scheme and with the conversation around housing, the conversation in the district about short-term rentals has changed quite a bit. And so I think it's, yeah, an appropriate time for us to consider this. And again, would limit that to primary residence. And then when we're talking about the OCP more broadly and ADUs, we can see what fits best for the community there. But I think we can move this forward now with what's in front of us. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Murdoch, Mayor Murdoch, sorry.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Can I just ask staff, is there, in the report, it uses the term primary dwelling. Is it, is that the better term, primary dwelling or primary residence?
Mr. Bull?
Or does it not matter too much in terms of giving clarity to staff?
At this point, I don't think it matters that much. I think the key concept there is that the resident is in that dwelling, right? And it's an occasional occurrence. I think that's what I'm hearing. But you can specify it any way you like. There is a principal building term in the zoning bylaw, but that's more about the main building and the accessory buildings. That could be another way, but that was not really, we haven't thought that through just yet. So we're waiting to hear from you tonight, and we're listening carefully of what your ideas are, and then we'll have to put pen to paper, and probably when we come back, we might have maybe an additional option for you to look at, depending on where we land in the drafting. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move an amendment then to add the words primary residence in front of short-term rentals. So basically, the council directs staff to prioritize preparation of bylaw amendments to introduce primary residence, short-term rentals in the zoning bylaw, et cetera.
Moved by Mayor Murdoch, seconded by Councillor Braithwaite.
And if I may just speak very briefly to this, I think just reflecting what we've heard around the table, I do want to emphasize that I support this because I think this is very clearly to the benefit of the community. But I do also see a lot of value in accessory dwelling units, but there is maybe some use cases there to prevent widespread loss of housing. Like, I can certainly see cases where people might have student housing during the university year, but might make sense to allow it to be rented out for visitors during the summer months, for example. So there were, I think, multiple cases here that we could consider. Just they're way more nuanced than just giving direction to staff today. So I think today, just making it very clear that aligns with the provincial and allows the work to get done, I think is the simplest. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll just briefly weigh in. Everyone has said everything that I agree with actually tonight. And my only concern down the road, if we do include other buildings on the property, for instance, ADUs, I think we really have to consider our bylaw enforcement capacity in this community, because as we densify, that is going to become a primary issue. So that's just my only cautionary note. But I'm going to ask for questions or comments on the amendment, which will limit to primary residences. So I'll call the question on the amendment. Yes.
Sorry, Chair, just a quick question, and this may be being pedantic, but I'm just going to ask it of staff. Staff understands that to be, because when I look at the provincial materials, it references the principal residence. We're saying primary principal residence. I'm assuming we understand that to be the same thing, but I just want to double check in terms of language.
Thank you for finding. I was trying to find that desperately. So I'm happy for the motion to read principal residence, if that's in alignment. Thank you.
Mr. Bull, is that's agreeable and consistent language?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it would be good to have that consistent.
Thank you. So I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And now we'll go back to the original motion. That's option 2, as amended. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes unanimously also. Thank you very much. And Mr. Lutz, my apologies for not recognizing you, but from my perspective, that's a good thing. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Mr. Bull. I believe that concludes our business except for new business. And would anyone like to add to new business? Councillor Smart?
Yes, I have a motion arising related to our presentation from earlier tonight. A motion arising to ask staff to bring forward a project backgrounder to create a deconstruction and building relocation bylaw to be considered at the next review of council priorities.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Appleton seconds. Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Chair Green. Can we confirm that that's the December 2025, because there is a review next week? Thank you.
That is my intent for December, not next week. Would you like the motion modified in words? No, okay.
Okay, so that provides clarity. Are there any comments or questions on this motion? Councillor Smart, do you want to motivate?
Yeah, if I could motivate, this is something I feel very passionately about. I have firsthand experience with this. I've deconstructed a home on my property. I'm involved in the relocation of buildings in my work, and I really feel that it's important for us to move forward with incentivizing this in our community. I realize that this is something that's come up at council a few times anecdotally, and we've been very sensitive to how busy our building and planning department is. I think now is the time to start planning for when we do have the time, because this is really key. When we start talking about how important it is to value our natural assets and our carbon, and really look at looking at our decision making at this table from that holistic point of view, I think that we really need to value our buildings and the carbon footprint to our deconstruction in our community. So I'm happy to bring this forward, and I hope it gains support around the table.
Thank you, Councillor Smart. I just have a question from Councillor Appleton.
I just wanted to I was just asking the chair about the mechanics of taking this forward. It's not necessarily a motion to be debated at this time, but to be on an upcoming council meeting, or the backgrounder would come to an upcoming council meeting. So I don't think we need a motion to that effect. I think it just needs to get requested, right?
Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Chair Green, and through you to Council. So this is a motion arising coming out of an item of business that was on the agenda, so it is debatable, and you make a decision on it tonight, and if the decision is positive, the project backgrounder will come back in December.
Thank you for the clarity. Councillor Smart?
Yes, that was my intention, that it's a motion arising and we could deal with it tonight. Thank you.
Okay, are there any comments or questions?
We just have the motion read again.
The motion is to ask staff to bring forward a project backgrounder to create a deconstruction and building relocation bylaw to be considered at the next review of council priorities in December.
Are there any other comments or questions? Mayor Murdoch? No? Councillor Watson?
If I could just ask a question to the mover. That's pretty broad. I just wondered if you want to keep it that broad, because there's lots of different policy aspects of that, as we heard in the presentation. So it's just a question.
Yeah, my intent was to keep it that broad because otherwise I sense we could be here for an hour deciding which individual things we think are more important. And I think that our process of having council project backgrounders is a really effective one where staff are able to give a little bit more time to come back with recommendations and time and financial implications of the different options. So although I may personally be able to make it much more precise, it's in my experience at this table with all of our different backgrounds, giving staff the freedom to come back with specific recommendations is often the most successful.
Thank you.
Mr. Bull, do you have any questions or? No, thank you. So I don't see any further comments or questions, so I will call the question on the motion. Everyone's clear about what it is. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Move adjournment.
A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Appleton. I don't think anyone's going to be opposed to this, so I'll just call the question. Adjournment. All in favor? None opposed. Adjourned. Thank you. Oh, thanks.